I've been in real estate for over 30 years, built everything from fire stations to multifamily, over $400 million in deals. And in 2025, it's different. It's not 2008 and it's not 2021, but it's worse in some ways because the biggest risks now aren't that obvious. It's not just rates. It's bad underwriting. It's over-leveraged operators. It's capital stacks that don't cash flow. And in this video, I'm breaking down the real risks and how to protect yourself before it's too late. So a lot of people ask me, how are interest rates and inflation shaping the way that you do deals today? And they're not. Honestly, they're not. I'm still underwriting very conservatively. I'm underwriting with a cap rate that is higher than my purchase cap rate. I'm underwriting with long-term debt, which has a higher price point than short-term debt in most cases. And I'm underwriting with minimal 3% rent bumps, regardless of what the market's doing. And I'm doing this because that's what we've done for 25 years. The reality is things do change, but deals that make sense never do. And the fact that you're doing the deal today, it has to make sense today. And it has to be in a market that is going to continue to grow. And it has to be in a way that you can manage the risks. Because if I don't manage the risk going in, then I'm opening up myself for all kinds of problems down the road. Look, if you look at operators that have been doing this for a long time, you're going to see one thing that's consistent. Their deals stay pretty close to the same. They utilize time to make their biggest returns. Sure, they're going in with cash on cash. You've got to do something smart like that. But it doesn't mean that at the end of the day, they're looking to flip it quick. They're trying to figure out how to play with interest rates, and maybe things are going to come down. Either the deal works or the deal doesn't. Hope is never part of our equation when we look at how to manage long-term holds on assets. And this is what the biggest mistake that people are making right now in their capital stacks. And a lot of it is left over from 21 and 22 when the market was going ballistic and you really couldn't make an error. You could get short-term interest rates that were unbelievable. You were thinking that rates were going to stay like this forever, and you were able to do things then that only played in that market. Now things have changed. You've got to be more conservative in your underwriting. And in some cases, I say more conservative, but really I just mean you have to be conservative in your underwriting. You have to look at things changing. You have to look at what history tells us about lease bumps. Leases don't always go up $200 a year. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, sometimes they stay flat. And if you're only projecting a 3% rent bump, you're going to be in the money on the long-term end of the curve. Quick heads up, if all this risk talk makes your palms sweat, good. It means you're paying attention. Real estate isn't supposed to be easy, but it's not supposed to be hard. That's why I put together a resource to help you avoid bad deals and bad partners. It's called the SRI Due Diligence Framework, and it's how I personally vet every single opportunity before it ever gets a dollar of our money. If you're an investor and you're not using this, well, you're guessing. But the links in the description will give out 20 of these for free, so get your copy right now. So banks and private lenders have kind of started acting normal again. Or if you're new to real estate, they're acting differently. But the reality of all of that is that they are going back to the fundamentals as well. They are going back to needing 30 to 40% equity in the deal. That's not terrible. When you figure the bank's interest rate is around 6%, you're putting money in that is going to offset and spill 6% cash on cash. It's not terrible. It's what we've done for years. And they're looking at things like who the operator is. They weren't doing that in 21. They thought, well, everybody with the pulse and these DSCRs and these lending rates, we can let anybody in the door. And they did. That didn't work very well for them. They've got a lot of operators that don't have a clue, that aren't keeping up on the maintenance, on the management. They're falling behind on tenant delinquencies, all of the areas that strong managers are really succeeding in because they've mastered those tasks. And if you look at it, banks are looking at net worth, they're looking experience, they're putting a lot of weight back into the resume of who is on board. It's no longer an area where 35 guys can pull together their money. They look around the room and they say, well, Jimmy has experience in property management because he managed 2 single-family homes. We'll put that on the resume and we'll call it good. And the bank bites on it. Right. So they're back to a place where things are behaving logically, and they want to make sure that developers are actual developers. They've done this before. They've got a track record. They're not guessing at it, and they're not loaning money to people that don't have the qualifications. None of this is bad. This is all very good for the market. The problem is there's cleanup on aisle 9. We've got some people that have got into deals that don't have the resume, aren't pulling it together. They've been through 5 or 6 or 7 different property management companies. They are struggling to keep their deal afloat. And when deals struggle to stay afloat, banks get nervous. Banks need to be nervous with some of the guys that they've loaned money to. And look, I've entered and exited a lot of deals in a lot of different markets. And I'll tell you, nothing's really changed on my approach to market selection, except that I'm looking for that stability. And especially lately, I'm looking for red states. Now, that's not a political statement. That is purely a business statement, because red states seem to put more value in the land owner than the tenant. States like California can take you up to a year to get a tenant out of your property that he's not paying on. Well, that's not giving you landlord rights. That's just allowing somebody to freeload off of you, when I honestly can't contemplate why you would own property in states like California and New York. They just don't get it. And they want to do things like rent control, all kinds of different things that take away the free market access that we in real estate come to expect and enjoy. So, not that I ever underwrote a lot or looked at a lot in California or New York, but they are definitely off my list now. And if they're doing rent control, that's a place I'm exiting as fast as I can. I think a mistake that a lot of people make is they don't study the markets for very long. They study the market after they have a deal in front of them. They look at something where this is a deal that's in this market. We've never looked at it before. Let's go justify the deal. And you know what? You can pencil whip your spreadsheet to say anything you want. But I looked at a deal in Nashville about a year ago. And the problem that I saw with Nashville is there was so much going on there that was going to be affected by an economy if it ever slowed down. And what we saw was, as interest rates climbed, we saw that rents were expected to get more expensive. So they were pushing rents to make deals work. They were doing a lot of things that the underlying market couldn't support. And we've seen that in Nashville. We've seen that in Austin. We've seen that in parts of Florida where rents are softening. Concessions are coming back into the market in a big way. And those are the kind of things that I've been able to look at and spot early. Is there a lot of product being built? Is there more than has been built in the past? And are they all going to be completed at the same time? Because when you're in lease up and everybody else is in lease up, you've only got the same amount of people trying to lease your property, but you have 3 times the product coming to market. Well, where are those people coming from? And so we were able to spot a couple of these deals early on because we weren't looking at those markets. And if we weren't looking at those markets from a long-term horizon, we definitely didn't want to get involved on the short term. And when we did that, we sidestepped the deal. And looking back on it, I really know we made the right choice, because those deals aren't performing like they thought. They're struggling. Not that they can't pull it out, and not that it won't be a good deal eventually, but the cards are always stacked against you when you haven't looked at the market for a while. So start looking at markets way before you ever want to do a deal in that area, so that you can understand the market. And the easiest one to look at, well, it's the one you live in. And you can figure out if you want to live there, other people want to live there. If there's reasons for you to do this, then it can be a great thing for you to really, truly understand, because you've lived there for a long time and you understand how that market is growing. The thing that you've got to understand is, in order to understand a market, it's going to change a little bit how you move forward with your operations once you own the deal. And you have to have a very clear vision of what you're going to do once this asset's yours. Look, real estate in 2025 isn't just risky, it's unforgiving. And if you're 40 feeling like you missed your window to start, you're not alone. You're probably juggling a family, a demanding career, maybe trying to put some savings away. but no clear plan. And that's exactly why I made this next video, because it breaks down how I'd get into real estate from scratch if I was starting over at 40. No guru stuff, no shortcuts, just the smartest way to build momentum, protect your time, and actually grow your wealth. Click the video on your screen now, because the longer you wait, the more ground you lose.